here. You have picked out the most wonderful songs, Bob. Oh, they're so good. Well, can you all hear me? Yeah. Deepak Chopra said that we inhale, with each breath that we inhale, that you take in 10 to the power of 22 atoms from the universe. Now, that ultimately ends up as your heart cells, your brain cells, your kidney cells, and your DNA, and so on. With each breath you exhale, you breathe out 10 to the power of 22 atoms. You're literally breathing out bits and pieces of your brain tissue. That may be the problem right here. And your heart, your kidneys, and your bones, at a very fundamental level, that we are intimately sharing our organs with each other today. In fact, he said, based on reliable data, radioactive isotopes studies, you've all studied those, and so forth, it is now estimated that right now in your body that you have 1 million atoms that were once in the body of Christ, Buddha, Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Stalin. So So at the most fundamental quantum mechanical level, there are not well-defined edges to our body, and we are exchanging our bodies with each other and with other planet dwellers. It's so busy in here. Anyway, our bodies are made up of atoms. Atoms are made up of particles that are moving at lightning speed. The particles are fluctuations of energy and information made to give to man powers that are beyond his expression. Jesus used the dynamic power of thought to actually break the bonds of the atoms, composing of a few loaves and fishes. He came up with 5,000. And they were all fed. Now, isn't it a thrilling idea that there could be particles of Gandhi and Mother Mary and Jesus just zooming around this room today and waiting to see who will inhale them? Anyway, there are energy attractor fields that keep us like magnets to situations and people that have similar frequencies. And since we were children, we tend to be attracted to things that have similar emotional energy. And when we get in the spiritual path, often these energy attractor fields can be so wonderful, where we behold the unfolding of God's love and peace, and inventions come to us, sacred ideas powering through us. But often it has taken great spiritual work to get past the negative energy attractor fields that were brought to us when we were children. Now, everything that has happened to you and for you was because of matter, energy, and spirit coalescing within the field of attraction. We know the force is love, and scientists see it as 0-point energy. The words that Jesus spoke created massive fields of attracting the heart, the mind, and soul to higher levels of love and intelligence and glory in those that he spoke to. Attractor fields define our lives, emotions, and our outcomes. There are hidden energetic anchors that lock us into patterns and perspectives that keep us from happiness. Psychologists have discovered that rehearsing and repeating new thought patterns, that can help to eliminate those attractor fields that cause depression. Also, observing the distress without judging it helps tremendously. a story comes to me that happened in St. Petersburg, and I'm actually going to use the word Leningrad because that's what it was when I was there, in Russia. We had 65 New Thought people on this trip, and one incident brought to mind of how these attractor fields work. So Shirley, it was our last evening actually in Leningrad, and we were preparing to go to Moscow on the train, and the 65 people were all waiting downstairs to be taken on the bus and taken on the train. So all of a sudden, the door flew open, and one of the members is yelling, "Come quick, come quick." Shirley has lost her mind. She is in the lobby, and she is screaming at the top of her lungs. The 13th floor elevator ride in that lobby felt like it was eternity. Could this turn into an international incident? And my husband, who was on this trip with me, he carefully approached Shirley when he got downstairs, and she was continuing to scream and flail her arms in the air. As he lifted her into his arms, he literally carried her back to her room. It was an hour before our overnight train was going to take us to Moscow. 65 of our group, like I said, they were already there. But by the grace of God, the American consulate staff duty officer, in answer to our urgent call, arrived, and he felt that we must leave Shirley in Leningrad, and he would call an ambulance and get her to a local psychiatric hospital. Well, he didn't realize all the things we'd heard of the Russian psychiatric hospitals. Have any of you heard of them? There's books on it. I mean, they're terrible places. So I mean, many of the stories were just dreadful, and we had known some of the people who'd ended up there. Now, Beverly Livingston was a psychiatric nurse who was on our trip, and she had had a vision and a dream that maybe she could visit the psychiatric hospital to see what they do and how they do it in Russia. And she'd been told that she couldn't do it. But she ended up putting her hand up. "I will volunteer to go and stay with her. I'll stay here in Leningrad, and I'll just be with her." So Beverly stayed at the hospital for several days, and then she came and was with our group in Moscow. She assured us that Shirley was receiving the very best of care. Even the treatment and drugs were similar to the care that she would have received in the United States. The staff provided lovingly for my care and is totally giving everything they have to Shirley. So then we really, and I don't know if I told you this, but when she was yelling downstairs, she was yelling, "Call my president right now. They're going to kill me. They're going to kill me." And she was sure she was going to end up dead. So these were the things that were being screamed, and we were sure the KGB would come and take us all away. So then we understood that we were to go back, that we had now to go back, and we were going to pick her up in Leningrad. And Ed was not able to sleep all night. He kept thinking, "Oh my goodness, what if she's drugged up? What if she's violent? They'll keep us all here, and none of us will get out." And because the planes won't let her on. So anyway, we got, when he went to go pick her up, he came back and he said, "You are not going to believe what you're going to see when you see Shirley. She's been transformed." So later, when I entered Shirley's compartment in the train, I too was totally amazed at the dramatic change. She was gentle, she was peaceful, and she said, "You know, Linda, my son kept saying to me before I left on the trip that I was going to die. He said, 'Mama, you're not going to come back. I know you're not. And I'm so scared.'" And she said, "I guess I must have bought into some of my son's suggestions." And she said, "I was acting paranoid for a little, since I actually got on the plane." And, there were people on the plane who were from the same church, the New Thought Church, and they were talking about me and kind of making fun of me that I was really paranoid. She said, I can't even tell you what an effect that had. So the attractor field that she experienced was very, very detrimental. And it came from her son thinking that she was going to die. She continued her story. On the third day that I was at the hospital, I met my 5 roommates. They were all there because of stress on their jobs. Many people spend time in these hospitals just to get away from their kids and their job and to get back. Why don't we have something like that? Anyway, one woman was from Nigeria and she spoke English and Russian, and she translated for me in order that I might communicate with the Russian patients. These women were as loving and as kind that I had ever met in my life, she said. They shared homemade treats with me. I have never experienced such unconditional love in my life. I'm completely healed. They kept saying, Shirley, you're not sick. You're a very good person, and you are so beautiful. And she said, I got these amazing things that they said to me every day. And they said these Russian women were teaching me that I could trust them. I even had my birthday there. The nurse made cream puffs for me, and the woman from Nigeria sang happy birthday in English. And the hospital provided a car and a driver and a nurse so that I could go all around Leningrad and see it. I felt like I was a different person. These people believed in me, and I now have an opportunity to share their love with everyone I meet. And I have an inner knowing that I'll never, ever experience mental illness again. On that same, she said, on some level, I had chosen to die. I made a new choice to live through the love that was released to me in that hospital. And the enemy of the evil empire, because that's what it was called back then, had been transformed before her eyes through their expression of loving kindness and tender mercy towards her. So these friends that she made in the hospital healed Shirley with love and created a Christed field of wholeness for her to operate in. Attractors attract and hold on through powerful emotional energy. Attractors are behind the things that we say, we do, we feel. And again, they are why we keep doing them. Attractor fields define our lives. Emotions attract like emotions, like behaviors. That's why grief, depression, and PTSD are symptoms that are really and truly a problem. They're hard to break. But when we begin to know truth and we begin to know the true Christ that is living within us, which is our identity, and we meditate, these attractor fields are weakened and new attractor fields start operating. Emotions or feelings influence our view of and reaction to everything through their energy. Now, here's an example of an attractor field, and I may have told you all this before. I've been here so long that you've maybe heard all of my stories many times. But anyway, I was raised a Mormon, and we were told that we were the only true church in the entire universe. And I remember in this little town of Tabor, Canada, that I was so thrilled that most of the people were Mormons anyway. And so I knew that was the picture of my entire world. Now, we did have a few Catholics there, but we knew that they were the wrong bad church. And if we were the true good church. So besides, Grandma taught me that villains wore black and the priests wore black. So it was so evident. Anyway, that we should stay away from them. So I listened to my grandma and I adopted all her divisive theories of separation. And consequently, my attractor field only had Mormons in it, not a Catholic, no Catholics at all. And I was prejudiced of millions and millions of Catholics. So recently I was with a Catholic friend and I told her how I was raised to be very, very suspicious of Catholics. They were the bad people. And she started laughing. She couldn't stop laughing. She said, "Isn't that amazing? I was taught that you were the bad people." And we all knew that you were going to end up in purgatory and or even hell. But anyway, it was a little vague the way we were taught. We were the one true church. We were the chosen ones. And when I no longer saw the Mormon church as the only true church, I attracted all these loving Catholics. It was a miracle. This world produces one illusion after another. We cannot change or improve or heal an illusion, but we can recognize it. And that recognition is the illumined consciousness that sees a broader picture. And the illumined consciousness sees the temporal power of the illusion, which has no Christ, wisdom, or power, or love behind it to sustain it. There's nothing to sustain it. Every illusion that we've ever had has nothing to sustain it. The only thing it has to sustain it is our belief in it. So I stayed in touch with Shirley, and she shared with me the amazing life that she was now living. That was not just a temporary thing she experienced, because when you make a new attractor field, it's tremendously more powerful, especially when it's positive, than the negative ones. And she knew that the acceptance and love that she experienced in that hospital ignited her to reach a new realm of love. She said, "It inspired me to live my life where my whole home would exude this presence of God. I was in a state of devotion and an altitude of gratitude, it felt like all the time. And the energy field I had merged with made my soul so tender and so allowing. Somehow that psychiatric hospital brought forth a loving field that my heart and soul was able to come into oneness with. And I had yearned for that." She said, "Do you know that I'm even singing now, and I've never sang before? And I enjoy everyone. Not everyone enjoys my songs. But anyway, I love the people in the post office. Everywhere I go, I paid my taxes the other day, my house taxes. I loved the woman who took my money," she said. And she said, "My attitude seems to bring one beautiful conversation after another wherever I am. Some of my old friends just drifted away from me, but new friends came in." And she said, "I shared with her that all of life is giving to us. This is one of the most amazing things that I love to live. I love to live the idea that my table, my chairs, my bed, my car, they're all giving love to me. And you just know when they're not there that, my goodness, they probably were giving you love and you didn't appreciate them. Anyway, I had discovered that all the givingness of all creation at one time, everything is giving to us if we can open up our heart and our eyes to be able to see that." And this was her experience. She said, I said, "Look at the birds singing, the trees, the flowers, everything is giving and sharing their beingness with us. Think about that. And that's what we do with each other. We share our beingness with each other." And she said, if we see life in this way, we will always be more than we were. So I shared with her about this, recognizing this giving, loving universe. And I said, as you keep acknowledging it, what happens is you're expressing longevity and beauty to your chair. You'll find your chairs and your dishes don't even break anymore. If you'll just recognize the beingness and the givingness of everything, it's a spiritual universe. And that's how you can tell it's a spiritual universe, when you begin to see that everything is there as a spiritual evidence of God's love for you. So life can only bring goodness into your field. There's no strategy anymore. There's no intentions. There's no attraction to anything out of God's realm. Certainly, I don't always stay in that field. I want you all to know that. But all of us know that the presence is like the secret place of the Most High. We drink in the peace and the love of the Creator. The robe of righteousness, scripture. I love this. I love the idea that we wear a robe. The robe of righteousness. Listen to this in Isaiah. It thrills me. It says, I will greatly rejoice in the Lord. My soul will exalt in my God, for he's clothed me with garments of salvation. The other word for salvation is wholeness. He has covered me with the robe of righteousness. This robe of righteousness is a robe that has no more shame. It has no more guilt. It has no more sense of unworthiness. The most beautiful garments in the world, the garments of wholeness and righteousness. Now, these garments, when recognized as our dress code now, keep us, help us to be what we've been made to be, whole and complete, where we were acting like caterpillars before, kind of crawling around, life resisting us continually. And now we are like the butterfly, and we are flying over all of the things that we used to consider as things to be anxious about. We're now that which we were enmeshed in no longer has power, and we can testify that problems can be trusted to our Creator, that has placed the robe of righteousness upon us, where the shame and guilt had a place to bring us down and rob us of our identity. This deep-rooted feeling gets stuck in our subconscious, and we're not able sometimes as children to overcome it, but they have a way of being exposed. When we are determined to awaken, we are determined to let go of all these fears and insecurities. How many years have some of us performed for love? How many years have we strived to be worthy, or performed for love, or tried to be important and spiritual to others? Now there's no struggle. You just are being. Now we have been given new garments. The old garments of shame, guilt, and unworthiness have been removed. So we don't want to be out in the garage looking for our old garments. Do not put them back on. Keep them off of you. Our new garments of glory and splendor, those are the ones we're going to be wearing. So let's wear the truth of our identity with gratitude and a loving heart that can embrace others, even if they believe differently, or maybe they're still in guilt. The inner robe of the Christ helps us to break new ground with realizations that could bring peace to your whole household and those in the world that you commune with. It raises your frequency to be responsible for your thoughts, feelings, as these produce your next experience and your next moment. The more this inner Christ is acknowledged and desired, the more that anything and you want this more than anything in the world, there's going to be a shift in your consciousness. Now, I can already see that you've already shifted, probably before you even arrived here today. But anyway, we want to let this majesty and this splendor of Christ just really and truly come through us. So how do we stay in these higher frequencies? One, by staying out of divisive places of separation. That's in your own consciousness. Stay away with all kinds of theories that there's bad people out there. Know that God created them. And you may be the very one that is able to have a revelation for that person that will change their life forever. The next one is by loving God with all of your heart, mind, and soul. This expands your heart, mind, and soul and magnifies our experience to match the kingdom of heaven frequency. And I love the Christ in me and love my neighbor's Christ within them. I can have a harmonious, loving, great life of peace and joy. Now my paradigm contains a frequency of heaven and glory. There is a robe. Maybe we could just close our eyes for a moment while I say these next things to you. There is a robe of Christ consciousness within each of us. And this robe has the DNA and the resurrection consciousness of Christ. Once we know we have it or have faith, we are adorned in our soul with it. We experience a higher state of love. And right now, I just know that this robe of consciousness of the Christ is ignited and to be all that you are to be. We're wearing that robe of righteousness within and the garments of salvation. We're in the spiritual kingdom. The Christed one is our true identity. Galatians 2:20 says, I live, yet not I, but Christ lives my life. Our frequency dictates our experience. The Christ attractor field will draw the peace and harmony, the kingdom of God reality into your experience. It'll even draw your home to you, all your relationships. We can live in the magnified field of the soul where there is nothing to fear or hate, only God to love. Charles Fillmore describes the Christ being, which is the truth we experience when we acknowledge the life within us, robed in Christ, in splendor and glory. He said, when we ascend into the secret place of the Most High, when we lift up our thoughts, we behold spiritual reality and we see the body as it truly is, refined, vitalized in every cell, quickened and harmonized in every function, transformed into a body of living, luminiferous energy, beautiful, strong, whole, eternal, incorruptible, a true center of the divine energy. Oh, yes, when we move into the Christ field, our bodies have a chance to show forth a new life. This attractor field of God's love is all around us now. We're meant to live in the joy and the gratitude that is produced within us when we are living out of true awareness. All power is in our awareness of truth, and that truth will set us gloriously, gloriously free. Thank you, thank you, thank you, God, that we can come together in oneness and love, and we can be there for each other. And it's this Christ attractor field that just draws us and draws us into more holiness and more love, more joy. Thank you, thank you, thank you.